Those of my regular viewers that watch this channel frequently are going to find that this video has virtually nothing to do with fabrication. I'm actually out at Lake Mead right now because I am scouting a location to shoot a video for the personal watercraft that I am building. You'll see that later. But I figured while I'm out here, let's go see if we can find some of that really cool stuff that everybody's been posting about, like barrels and boats sticking up out of the water and washed up fish and all the rest of that stuff, because I found all the locations, and as it turns out, you don't need a boat to go see them. So please accept my apology that this is not what you're normally used to seeing, but it's gonna be really cool because I found just about everything. Incredible. Any hidden treasure?
So let's kick this journey off at Hemenway Harbor. Now, most of what people are talking about and showing on the videos and pictures are between here and Boulder Beach. Now, Hemenway Harbor is where you'll find the most. Everything from the Higgins boat, to the body in the barrel site, to the salad bowl you can see from the shore, the famous water level signs, and even a couple of other really cool Lake Mead secrets I've known about since the 80s. As you approach Hemenway Harbor, you're probably going to find yourself at the top of the boat ramp, and this is where you're going to find the year 2000 water level sign. And when you stand there for a moment and you notice the water is about a half mile away and 180 feet lower, you kind of get left in the sense of awe for a moment, because it's really hard to imagine that right there where you're standing next to the sign is about the same height of the Hoover Dam spillway. And you can kind of see in those pictures from the year 2000, when they compare it to now, that's where the water line was. That's how high it was. Now, you can drive down the boat ramp and see more signs all the way down to 2021, but just as a heads up, this is the only boat launch ramp on the south side of the lake. So if you're in a car with no boat attached to it, you're probably going to make people mad waiting in line because you're blocking traffic and playing tourist. So if you really want to see all of these signs and get some selfies and close-ups and stuff like that, it's best to do it on foot, unless it's not too busy at the boat ramp. Now, just so you can follow along, I pinned every single location, exact GPS coordinates, and you can look down in the description and you'll see more on the TFS website where I published all of them. You get exact links to where it is, you get pictures, you get fun stuff to read, even more stuff than I can put in this video. And one of those things that I pinned is the exact location of the water line on the boat launch ramp. Where I was standing this day, you can pop open your GPS, go to these exact coordinates and stand here and look where the water line is. Now, just for some added fun and context here, this satellite image shows where the water line was in April of 2022, just a couple of weeks before the body was found. But if I pull up my location where I'm standing in this video, I'm 125 yards further into the water. So if you check this again in a couple months from this video or whatever the case is, see where you're at now versus where I was standing when this video was made. It should be pretty fun. Definitely make sure you hit me up and tag me on the socials if you actually do that. I'll check again when I make my personal watercraft video. Now, of course, the Hemenway boat launch was made most famous for the body found in the barrel, which the exact location is not necessarily well documented, but it was pretty much right next to the boat launch ramp from what I've been able to find. Now, obviously, it's not there anymore, but if you want to learn more about the body in the barrel, I got a link for the Mob Museum here in Vegas. Now, they've got a whole story on this one of who it could possibly be inside of that barrel to, all the mob ties and everything else that it's most likely related to and more. It's a really good read if you're kind of into that stuff. Now, while you're at Hemenway Harbor, take a few minutes to explore the Las Vegas Boat Harbor. There's a couple of really cool secrets hiding in there. The address is 490 Horsepower Cove in Boulder City, Nevada. As you walk up the dock, one of the biggest things you actually notice is a whole bunch of gigantic fish that like to follow you around like some kind of aquatic panhandler. Now, if you look to your right at the end of the dock, you'll see a store. If you go inside of there and swing around the cash register, you'll find a gigantic rack dedicated to nothing but popcorn. It's not for the locals that love it.
I think we'll do butter today.
Grab yourself a couple of bags and run outside behind the store and go feed the fish. These little suckers go bonkers for popcorn, and at $2 a bag, it's super valid entertainment.
All right, throw a handful.
I've been feeding the fish since the 1980s, and it's still one of my favorite things to do while I'm here, and definitely a really fond memory. Now once you've finished up with the fish, head into the cafe. Now the food is actually really good in there, and the staff likes to chat it up sometimes about the last few decades on the lake and how it's been and how it's changed. But either way, you're definitely going to want some food in your system for the rest of this journey, because it's going to burn up some energy. So let's get to it. Now once you've finished up in the harbor, you got a couple of choices. The World War II Higgins boat is confirmed to be accessible by foot, but it's definitely a hike. Now since it was still about halfway underwater on the day that I shot this, I decided against going to go look for it. But based on other videos that I've seen, I suspect it is somewhere in this general area that I've got pinned on the GPS. Now you can pull up this link and everything else like that, and hopefully it'll get you close. At the moment there's no trail to get there, but give it a month or two, I'm pretty sure it'll be a lot easier to access, and you could probably walk all the way around the boat and check it out and all the rest of that good stuff, because I'm pretty sure the lake's going to keep on sinking. Now let's take a stroll along the beach. Head back toward the boat launch and turn off just before you get to the concrete. From there, head down the road to the PWC, or Personal Watercraft Beach. From this point, you can get a pretty clear look at the water clarifying tank that's on top of the hill. The clarifying tank, labeled the Salad Bowl on Google Maps, used to be a popular dive site until about 2006, when the water level started falling past the rim and into where you're looking at it from. Now just imagine that 16 years before this video, if you were standing in the same place as you are now, you'd be under 100 feet of water. And if it was before 2006, when it was actually a dive site, you would have been under 180 feet of water. It's really crazy to think about it that way. Once you've gotten enough of looking at the water clarifying tank, you can continue along the water line toward the next pin on North Boulder Beach. Now you'll probably notice that there are barrels just about everywhere along the way. And they're mostly filled with concrete because they were likely used for mooring of docks or boats, but definitely hop out of the car and take some pics if you feel so inclined to. There's also a few washed up boats, and probably more to come as the water continues to recede. And if they aren't there when you were there, they were most likely removed. You'll see another instance of that in just a couple of minutes. At the North Boulder Beach point now, you can actually look north across the water and you see a humongous water tower hanging off the side of a mountain. That mountain is actually called Saddle Island, and the tower itself is often confused with the Las Vegas water intake. Now hopefully you're there when the wind is a little bit less, because that Porta Duke sitting right behind me is pretty foul. Either way, with the water tower in sight, start veering right until you see a big pipe sticking out of Saddle Island just above the water line. That is the Las Vegas water intake.
There it is.
The intake pipe you can see sticking out of the water was constructed in 1971, and it took all the way until April 4th of 2022 to surface. There is a second and third intake though. The second one was built in the year 2000, which is the official year the drought began, and the third one is super deep into the lake. It was completed in the year 2020 with a price tag of $817 million. The next stop on our journey is Boulder Harbor. Now this was actually a location of the Las Vegas Harbor until about 2008, when it was moved to where it is now. Until just a couple weeks ago, there was a sunken boat sitting right in the middle of what is now the completely dried up harbor, where several YouTubers have been taking pics of the boat on the cracked up silt. Now you can still see the boat on Google Maps via the pin that I have linked on the website. If you decide to go treasure hunting here in the silt, you might find some cool stuff, but do remember that Lake Mead is actually a national park and metal detecting and drone photography is illegal here. So you'll just have to do it some old school way by turning up a piece of silt and smashing it on the ground or something, but you might want to just leave it intact the way it is because it's actually pretty cool. As they say, take only pictures, leave only footprints. Now this, along with Colville Bay, is one of the many locations that you would have found a bunch of dead fish, but by now they've probably all been scavenged and eaten up by a bunch of birds and stuff like that, so you probably won't find a whole lot of dead fish out here anymore. And I'm not really sure why you would want to be there. I've seen the videos and I swear I could smell them. Ugh. Now that pretty much sums it up for the southern portion of Lake Mead on the Nevada side, but the most famous part is definitely the jet boat that's pretty much sticking straight up out of the ground. Now that's located on the north end at Government Wash. Now, I strongly recommend having lots of water and snacks before you head out there because there are absolutely no services near there, and it's about a 50-minute walk or hike back to the main road in the sun if you get stuck, so make sure you go prepared. The first part of Government Wash is paved, no problem there. When you get to the end of the pavement, look toward the right of the restrooms for the dirt road access. The majority of the dirt road trails leading up to the point can be accessed with a car, but if it doesn't look right, try to find another trail. You definitely don't want to get stuck out here. Once you arrived at the point, or it is on the GPS, this is where you have to park if you have a two-wheel drive or if you have a car. If you have a truck or a four-wheel drive, you can go down the hill to the second pin labeled four-wheel drive parking. Now, a couple notes though if you have a four-wheel drive. This hill is actually pretty steep at 13 degrees, and it's all soft dirt and small rocks. It's easy to go down, but not all will make it back up. So be honest with yourself and your vehicle before you go down there. There's also a pretty big bump midway down the trail that could easily center some long wheel-based vehicles or ones with bad ground clearance. So again, use your best judgment. My truck is an F350 Platinum with Tremor package. I had no problem with it. But if it was like a stock Ford F-150, it would definitely get centered on this big old bump here. So again, be careful, use your best discretion. If you're not sure, park at the top of the hill and hike your way down.
Incredible. You can tell obviously a few people have been out here. Juniors, seniors, Sin City Outdoors, those guys. Somebody else came out to spray paint it. Somebody else came out to clean that off. Unreal. I don't want to disturb any of this stuff out here. This clothing is pretty old. There's the Jordan right there. What do we got here? Twin engines. This is really what I wanted to know. See if I can get some info. I don't know if you can, some of you guys can pull a part number off of that or something. Thermostat, water housing, all that stuff is up front, so presumably this is somewhere in the 80s. Jeez. Again, I don't want to disturb this, but I'm curious what's up there. Any hidden treasure? This is incredible though. People's stuff. Take care of your teeth. It's pretty old. That was actually really cool. I mean, I'd love to know more about that thing, but whew, it's friggin' hot. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys, just out of respect, you know, don't go messing with it, don't go climbing on it, don't disturb it, take your pictures, do your thing, but leave it intact. And don't steal anything off of here, because that is still, at the end of the day, even though it's been sunken for who knows how long, that's still somebody else's stuff. And you just don't mess with other people's stuff. I don't know if I told you this, but it's really friggin' hot. And it's a bit of a trek through all this soft stuff, so yeah. Whew. Yeah.
Something else worth mentioning about the jet boat. It's actually sticking up because it's buried in 86 years worth of soft sediment. Now, the area around the waterline is still wet and it acts like quicksand. That's literally no exaggeration. There actually was a couple while I was out there who got stuck in the mud with their dogs, so try to stay away from the actual water line. The couple and their dogs did make it out just fine, no problem, and I respectfully did not film them during the struggle. Instead, I actually just offered to help. Now, I do have some cool extras on the website about the jet boat, like why the top is white and why this is being called the Las Vegas or the Lake Mead monolith. So make sure you head over there and definitely check it out. I also have Colville Bay findings posted up there as well. You definitely need to go over there and check it out if you want to see what's so important about that. Now, I may come back and actually check on a few locations when I shoot the videos for the personal watercraft I'm building, but that's about all the lake I plan to show here. It's just crazy to me discovering all of these things and seeing all of this change since I was a kid, and I'm sure the lake will fill back up eventually, but if it doesn't, I can't wait to see what else surfaces in the coming years. I just kind of wanted to document all this. And if you're not a subscriber and you want to learn about welding and fabrication, I'd appreciate the opportunity to show you some stuff. I'll see you guys on the next episode.